In this video, I'm going to talk about how performing or training for performances affected my social dancing in a negative way. And this video really came about through a post that was made in the Sauceros page. The guy's name is Fran. He's talking about how social dancing has gone down in quality because of the high emphasis on performing. He states that this resonates with me, especially in New York City, where the social dance culture is being overtaken by the performers, both at socials and in schools that only teach partner work for performance. People are dissatisfied with social dancing, they want to keep developing themselves, and the only avenue is with schools that often make them worse social dancers. However, I think that where the performers have it right is with the dedication to training and marketing, obviously. If social littles train more, had decent PW instructors or real local role models, not just going to the odd class or purely social dancing, we might be able to get people interested in social dancing again. Okay, so he, states that New York, which is one of the top places for Latin dance, just Latin culture in general, the socials have actually become worse, because performing has become it's just been more emphasized. I interpret it as people care more about performing, reaching a higher specific standard, and hitting these specific marks versus just connecting and vibing out with the music and with the partner. So, it becomes a game of who's the better dancer. For me, I will say that I've experienced this. Fran does have a point. I've seen it firsthand how a lot of people put a high emphasis on performing, and then that seeps into social dancing. How do I see this? I go to congresses, and I got a lot of good things to say about congresses because if you want to have the best dances of your life, you go to a congress because that's where the best dancers are at. But I will also say that the culture there's a lot of people that are seeking status, they're seeking fame, they're just seeking attention, basically. I have a good example of this. I'll upload a video. I was recording my dance teacher, and there was a lot of space. There was enough space for me to record. That's why I did record, because I didn't want to get in people's way. And then I'm recording my teacher, and this guy just sees me recording. He knows I'm recording, so he drags his follow into the frame and basically kind of blocks my teacher. And he's dancing, and you can see that he's bumping into my teacher, and he's in the way, and he doesn't care. He just wants to be recorded. He wants to be on camera. And I was getting frustrated because I was like, dude, I don't want to see you dance. I don't want you in my frame. I'm recording my teacher. And I kept moving. I think he got the hint that I did not care for him, and he moved away. And then you could see the girl that my teacher was dancing with, she also had somebody else recording for her, and we were having a moment, right? And then people just want to take that moment and get the attention and just have an ego boost for themselves, whatever it is. And you see it, there's a lot of people walking around with cameras in the socials, and they upload those videos onto the platform, onto the Congress pages, the Instagram pages. So they want a chance of being able to be seen and be recorded and be known as a good dancer. And there's other incidents where I've danced with some follows, and it doesn't happen to me anymore, but where I was still newer to the scene, or I wasn't as advanced, and I had this follow who would just basically lead herself, do all these spins and do all these crazy things. When I first needed to connect with her, I first needed to vibe out and feel the music, and then I could layer on top of that. But this follow knew I wasn't that advanced, so she basically danced herself. And at that point for me, I'm like, bro, just dance with yourself if you're gonna do that, And I think it's annoying, man. Because if you think about it, when you're social dancing, you're dancing with other people. You're not dancing with yourself. If you were dancing with yourself, you either be in your bedroom or you'd be doing performances like a solo. Do a solo, bro. Go do that on your own. But social dancing is for connection. That's why I want to go into the next thing, which is I want to define the three main points of the video. How do we get to this place of social dancing becomes performing? And then I also want to talk about my experience of how me training as a performer affected my social dancing. And then I want to talk about the importance of defining what it means to dance. Okay, so the first point is how just the emphasis on performance can affect the city, can affect the social dances itself. So I want to explain this by doing a comparison between Arizona and New York. I feel like New York is a lot more developed. There's a lot more pros. There's a lot more schools. There's a lot more performers. There's a lot more students. There's a lot more. There's just a bigger culture of Latin dance over there. You know, New York is well known. It's one of the cities that is always mentioned when talked about salsa. You know, when people discuss salsa, there's a lot of culture in New York. So if you think about it, compare that to Arizona. That's where I live. That's where I social dance. Arizona is still developing. There's a lot of new teachers. There's fewer students. There's newer socials. Some socials pop up. Sometimes they disappear. Sometimes they stay. There's not that many long-standing places where there's like social dances consistently. Um, so you get this thing of like Arizona's a lot less developed. It's growing, so you're getting a lot more also casual dances because it's still growing. You get a lot of new faces in the scene. You get a lot more casual dances. You get a lot more just chill dances, but they're also not as advanced either. Um, and then you go to New York, and from what I've heard, it's a lot more serious. They know their shit over there. There's a lot more advanced dancers. So there's kind of a standard set in New York, and I think this the level of the schools, just the amount of time that dance schools have been around, the amount of pros in the city, the amount of students in the city, also like all these things, really do go into social dancing. If there's a lot of pros and it's more developed, I feel like there's a standard, and a lot of social dancers have to live up to that standard, or they feel like they have to. And I'm gonna say that whether that's good or bad, I think that having a standard really just comes from just having a system. If there's a system in place, such as a school, a dance school, then that dance school has to set a standard for itself so the students can know whether they're progressing or not. But that doesn't mean that that standard has to apply to everybody outside the school too. So sometimes what I notice is that the school creates a standard, the student adopts the standard, the student goes out and judges other people based off that standard. So they judge the more casual people, they judge the newer people, they judge the people that just aren't in the same dance team as them. And so it becomes this thing of, hey, if you're not setting the standard, yeah, I'm gonna make you feel like you're not. I'm gonna show like my standard, and I'm gonna show that I'm better. You know, not this kind of comes out. This kind of what happens, and a lot of people do feel intimidated. And Fran himself mentioned it, that it makes the dancing worse. It makes the social dancing worse because people are trying to set a standard that they learn from schools that doesn't really apply to social dancing. What's the standard with social dancing? That's what we got to talk about, and I think that's what Salceros is about. What is the standard for social dancing? Well, I think that social dancing is very subjective. If we're going to talk about social dancing, there is no really, in a way, you had a good social dance when you had a good connection. And how did you know you had a good connection? Well, did you feel free? Did your partner have a good time? Were you smiling? Were you having making eye contact? Were you vibing out to the music? Did you feel good at the end of it? Because to me, social dancing is healing. Dance in general is healing to me. So, and by that I mean like it tunes you into a higher self. It tunes you into joy. It tunes you into positivity. It tunes you into song. It tunes you into freedom, into expression. All of these good things. So if you're tuning into that, then you're having a good social dance. But if you're tuning into something else, whether it's to show off, to like hit specific marks, if you're making your partner feel like they're not dancing or they're not good, then you're really taking away from the experience. So we really have to know, like for ourselves, what is the standard that we're using. When we're in the classroom, there's one standard, but when we're social dancing, there's another. I feel like when you're in the classroom, you're in a system, and you have to abide by that system if you want to move up. But that doesn't mean that that system is the same system outside in social dancing, because there's a lot of new faces. There's a lot of people that are new to the scene. There's a lot of people that just want to see what's up, and having people that want to set a high standard and trying to impose that into them really takes, it really pushes people away, and it does make the social dancing worse. So that's one thing that that's one point I want to make. The more developed a city is with the Latin culture, the the more it's going to the more there's going to be a standard, and the higher the standard and the more people that are attached to that standard, it could lead to worse social dancing, because it all depends on whether that standard aligns with social dancing. Like, are the teachers really talking about the essence of dance? Are they just focusing on performance, or are they also talking about, hey, there's performing, guys? Like, performing is this. It's acting. It's hitting, specific choreo. It's moving your body a specific way. You are being judged. Versus, hey, social dancing. When you're out in the social dancing scene, it's not about that. It's about connecting, having fun, letting loose, breaking some rules. So we need more people to come out and give that differentiation of social dancing and performing. And that's what I think New York needs. That's what Arizona needs. That's what everybody needs if we want to make this scene a lot better. Now, I want to talk about my personal experience about how it affected my social dancing. I want to give like a personal account of, like, I want you guys to know that dance to me is spiritual. If you guys, me, my name's Jose, but I got my own YouTube account. It's called Lucid Living. So if you guys are interested more in my spirituality, I will talk more about that in my channel. But to me, that's spiritual. When I dance, I channel higher energies. I'm connecting with my ancestors. I'm connecting with my soul. I'm connecting with my partner. I'm connecting with love, with joy, and I'm projecting that onto into in the room. That's really what I want to do. When I dance, I want to create a safe space, a heaven basically, and I see it. I've seen it, and I felt it, where there is heaven. There is heaven when I'm dancing. I see. I get lost in the moment, and I connect with people at a higher level, and that's what dance is to me, right? And so that's really my perspective. So when I dance, I'm also naked. I feel like I'm vulnerable. I feel like I'm showing who I am at an internal level, and I want people to understand that, to have that definition and go into a dance team, I had a lot of apprehension in doing so. I did not want to join a dance team because I was afraid that me exposing myself and putting my, just being vulnerable, and then having somebody else tell me, hey, you're doing that wrong. You're not dancing right. To be judged and to a specific standard. I did not want to do that. I've always been against, authority, because to me, I always had this sense of, like, I kind of know what I want. I know what things mean to me, or at least if I don't, I'm willing to put myself out there. But if I'm going to do that, there's a risk, and the risk could be, for me, the risk was, oh, I'm going to be told that I'm not a good dancer, so I'll never go dancing. So I'd rather just not be told anything. I'd rather not train. So I was always afraid of somebody doing that for me. It wasn't until I noticed that there were a lot of classmates that were in my class at ASU. I saw them improving. When I took ASU classes, they were a lot more casual. They were just teaching the basics. They were teaching some patterns, but it was really super casual. And I never really, for me, I never took it seriously. I always had fun. It wasn't too hard to pass. Everybody got an A, basically. You just needed to show up, really, basically. So I would just show up and I'd have fun. And I knew I had my sauce. I'd go out to social dance, connect with people, and that was that. But as the time passed, I saw some of my friends improving, and I was like, man, I need to get better. A lot of these guys, they got all their moves and they're showing their moves off, and I hated it because I was like, well, they look good, bro. Like, and I knew I was doing a disservice to myself because I knew I wanted to get better, but I wasn't doing it. So I decided to take a class, join a team after that. And so, reflecting on the dance company, I think it has helped me a lot in terms of just dance. I really have gotten so much better, and I will talk about that also. But right now, I'm just talking about how the performance affected me. As time passed, from the beginning to the end, and we got closer to the deadline of getting our performance done, things got a lot more intense. There was a high emphasis put on performance, on hitting your marks, on getting the choreo right. And for me, it was very stressful. Maybe it was the environment. Maybe it was also me not putting in enough work. But I will say, like, the just the amount of just a high emphasis of being in a dance team and being told that you have to dance a certain way. Just having that emphasis in there really messed with my head. I noticed that as time passed, I know I was struggling with my performing. I know now that performing is completely different than social dancing. Performing is more about acting. It's more about getting moves right. It's more about hitting specific marks versus just letting loose and connecting with your partner. Performing is more just about it requires a lot of memory, it requires a lot of focus, it requires a lot of just discipline. But as time passed, I realized that I was putting such a high emphasis on performance that it became what I defined as being a dancer. I defined myself through the lens of performance. So when it came to performing, if I didn't do good that day in rehearsals, then I would label myself as a bad dancer. And then, getting that feedback from my teachers and then thinking about that while I'm social dancing, I'll be thinking about, oh, I'm not doing this move right, or I'll be doubting, like, am I doing this move right, or is this person like, at that level? I just be in my mind about it, and it would affect my social dancing. And as time passed, like, it just became harder for me to dance. I wouldn't like class as much. Um, I wouldn't like social dancing as much. So I stopped going out as much, and like that's really when I started to realize that I started to question whether I was a good dancer. I started to question whether it was worth it for me to be in a team or just be a dancer in general. And I was really forgetting who I was. So I mean, that's when I realized the third point, which is basically the importance of defining your relationship to dance. I noticed that there's this big umbrella. I've been a dancer my whole life basically, and through my experience with dance, I have built a relationship. And you might not have any experience, or you might have been dancing for years, but you yourself have developed a relationship to dance, and dance is its own entity. And if you were to see it, there's a bunch of little subcategories that fall under dance, and there's performance also, and then there's social dancing, right? And if you were to put performance as a priority, and you just look at yourself through performance or performing, then it becomes your whole dance identity. And so if you're not a good performer, then you're not a good dancer in general. But that's not really the case. I think being a good dancer can be defined through the sum of all these other things. Or it's not even the sum, just the interconnectedness of all these other categories. And I think when you get put in a system, and when you go through the schooling, or when you go through the teaching, and then you do it for so long, you get stuck in that system. And it's important to remember that it's just a system that you've chosen to go through. It's your choice. You have to remember that. And you as a dancer are much bigger than anything else. Your relationship to dance is your own, and you cannot let other people tell you what it is. You cannot let other people come into your relationship and mess it up, because the moment you start thinking, "Whoa, like I don't know if I like dancing anymore," is the moment when something else is coming into your relationship. Somebody else is walking in and telling you something that's not right. And I know that that's what happened to me. I started emphasizing so much performance over social dancing, that performance basically became social dancing, or social dancing basically became performance. And that shouldn't be the case. Each one has its own place. And I think we need more people that can talk about these things, in the sense that, hey, this is performing and this is social dancing. They're two different things. Although they sometimes overlap, they're not the same thing. We need more teachers talking about this, or we just need more role models talking about this. And I think that's what Salceros is doing for people. I think if we can really define, hey, so performing is more about acting. It's more about you making a show. It's more about you showing off in a way, versus, social dancing, which is more about connecting with your partner, vibing out, and smiling and enjoying the dance, messing up, whatever. If we could have people talk about these things, I think it will really change the way dances is seen at social dances, but also just how people's mental connection with dance, how healthy it becomes. We want this to become healthy. At the end of the day, for me, what I care about is having dance become an outlet or a place, a safe space for healing. That's really what I see. So, having these conversations and bringing more clarity into dance, I know it's not there. Dance is still, it's very put to the side. It's very niche. You got hip hop and you got all these other different kinds of dances, but a lot of them are put under schools. A lot of them are institutionalized, and we have to we have to really know that if we're gonna get into dance, we have to define what it means to us. Like, you have to figure out what dance means to you outside of any other system. All right. And then you have to remember that when you go into a system, you're going under the rules of something outside of yourself, and that you should not let this system over basically become your system, because your system at the end of the day is a lot bigger than their system. All right. So, talking about this, I just want to acknowledge a few things. First off, that maybe I did suffer through this season because I wasn't putting enough time. And now, it's not all bad. If you want to join a performance team, it's not all bad, because I'm going to say a few things I have to acknowledge. I wasn't putting in the time after class. I wasn't going over the choreo. I wasn't taking privates and and looking for help outside of class. But I will also say, dance, a lot of things have just been going on in my life. I just got married. I found out I'm going to be a dad. So, like, having to deal with that on top of everything else, I didn't care to really put the work in really outside of class. When I was in class, man, I gave it my all. But outside of it, I wasn't doing it. So, that could have also affected my mentality, just my own connection with dance. But I still think that it's important that I talk about this video, because there is a point and there is a truth, because it's not just me. People all the way in New York are dealing with this too. And then I will also say that, there are a lot of people that have suffered from this. And here's something that I picked up along the way. Are you dancing to show how good you are, or are you dancing to show who you are? And that's the bar right there. That's the bar I wanted to drop, because if we understand that dancing to show how good you are versus dancing to show who you are is very different. And we always want to show, I mean, for me, we always want to dance to show who we are. All right? Because who we are is not defined by any standard. Okay? Who we are cannot be put down through any system. Who we are is a lot bigger than any system. Who we are is something spiritual. Who we are is something huge, infinite. So you have to remember, always show who you are. You always want to dance to show who you are. So then I will also, there's also that point. All right, guys, dance is a huge bucket. Within that bucket, there's a lot of other little buckets, and don't make the small bucket become your big bucket, because then it's not the point. That's not really the point. Okay. And also remember, you have your own personal relationship to dance. Don't let somebody else come in and attack it or infringe upon it. When you go into a class, understand that dance is a friend to you. All right, you want to take care of that friend. You don't want nobody telling you, "Hey, like, your friend's ugly," or "You guys don't look good together," whatever. You protect your friend. Okay. Um, Protect that relationship. It's important. It's the only thing you have. Because outside of that class, outside of that school that you're going to, like, that relation to dance that you have is gonna go and follow you the rest of your life. So you take care of that, and it will reward you very much. But that's really it. I hope you guys keep saucing out, and that also means I'm out. Peace out, guys.